Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Today we're tackling how to buy back your time as an entrepreneur.
And we're going to go deeper than just like hire a bunch of assistants.
Right. We're diving deep into Dan Martell's story.
Who, by the way, has a really unique path to success.
Yeah, his story's not exactly rags to riches, more like
Well, like what?
more like rocky road to redemption maybe. I mean, he had a tough upbringing, to say the least.
You did, yeah. Even spent some time in jail.
You wouldn't know it looking at him now though. Successful entrepreneur, 8-figure business.
It's really incredible when you think about it. How does someone go from that to where he is now?
Well, in one of the sources, he talks about finding this Java programming book.
Oh, yeah, in an abandoned cabin, right?
Exactly, while he was at a youth facility.
Mm,
And that book, it was like a turning point for him.
I can see that. Discovering this passion for tech that he didn't even know he had.
It's pretty inspiring, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially for anyone listening who might be feeling, I don't know, discouraged by their past or like they're stuck.
Absolutely. Dan's story shows that anyone can change their trajectory.
So true. Okay, so fast forward a bit. Dan builds a successful business, but then hits a wall, burnout, overwhelm, all that.
Classic entrepreneur struggle.
Right. And that's when he came up with this idea of the buyback principle.
Which, in a nutshell, is strategically using your resources to get your time back.
Not so you can just like lay on a beach all day, though.
No. It's about getting that time back so you can use it on the things that really matter.
The high-value tasks, the things you actually enjoy doing.
Right. And Dan really walks the walk here. He built his business, but still had time for family, hobbies, even trained for an Ironman.
Wait, an Ironman?
Yeah,
Crazy, right.
that's intense. But hold on, let's back up to the buyback principle for a sec. How do you actually know what you should be buying back?
That's where the DRIP matrix comes in. It helps you categorize your tasks.
Based on how much energy they take and how much money they bring in.
So you can see what to delegate, replace, invest in, or really focus on for production.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're spending hours on social media every day trying to, build a following.
Okay, yeah.
Where would that fall on the DRP matrix?
That's a good one. For a lot of people, social media can be a real energy drain,
Totally.
and it's hard to measure how much money it's actually bringing in.
So if you're not great at it or it just doesn't excite you, that might be something to delegate.
Exactly. Hire someone or use some tools to take it off your plate.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about really being honest with yourself about what you're good at and enjoy.
100%. And then find ways to free yourself from the rest.
And that leads into the buyback loop, right?
Yep. Audit your time, transfer the low-value stuff, then fill your schedule with those high-value activities.
Like decluttering your schedule, but then intentionally refilling it with the good stuff. But what if you're just starting out, can't afford to hire a whole team?
Dan talks about his brother, Pierre. He was trying to do everything himself, burning himself out.
Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck there, trying to do it all. So what happened with Pierre?
Well, Dan helped him see that his strength was sales. He was a natural.
Oh,
So he doubled down on that and hired a virtual assistant for the rest. Scheduling, bookkeeping, emails.
that's smart. So what happened? Focusing on his strength and delegating the other stuff really help?
It totally changed things for him. His sales went way up, he could hire more help, and eventually built a thriving business.
It's amazing how even small changes can make such a big difference. You don't have to wait until you have tons of resources to start buying back your time.
Right. It's about finding ways to be strategic at every stage. And as your business grows, Dan gives you some frameworks for scaling those efforts.
Like the replacement ladder.
Exactly. It's a systematic approach to hiring and delegating as you expand.
Okay, I like the ladder analogy. Each rung represents a different level of delegation.
You got it. And each rung has a feeling associated with it.
So at the bottom, you're feeling stuck, doing it all yourself, overwhelmed.
Right. Then as you delegate more, you start to feel some relief.
And eventually you reach a point of freedom where you're spending most of your time on those high-value activities we talked about.
That's the goal. It's a journey from feeling trapped by your business to being in control and focusing on what you love.
Love that.
Yeah.
And to make that journey smoother, Dan talks about creating playbooks.
Essential.
So, like instructions for how to run your business.
Exactly. Documenting your processes so you don't have to constantly explain things from scratch.
So instead of saying, hey, Bethany, remember to spell check the blog posts,
Yeah.
you have a playbook that lays out the entire process.
Yes, including proofreading and editing. That way, when Bethany moves on, her replacement has a clear guide.
Dan actually tells this funny story about how he used to train employees on software development.
While driving them across the border
Yeah.
in his car.
He eventually realized it was way more efficient to just film those trainings and make playbooks. Smart. Frees up his time, and he can scale the training. That's a great example of how documenting your processes can be a game changer. Not only does it save you time, it empowers your team to work more independently.
Totally. And that ties into Dan's insights on leadership, which are really insightful when it comes to buying back your time.
Okay, I'm intrigued. It's not just about delegating tasks, right?
Right. It's about building a culture where your team feels empowered to take ownership and make decisions.
Now we're talking. I'm ready to hear more about this leadership approach.
So Dan contrasts two styles, transactional management and transformational leadership.
Okay, those sound very different. What's the difference?
Well, transactional management is all about giving orders and micromanaging,
Okay,
while transformational leadership focuses on empowering your team to achieve shared goals.
well, I can already see how micromanaging could end up costing you more time in the long run. So how do you actually move toward that more transformational style?
One of the key principles is to focus on outcomes, not dictating exactly how to do something.
Give me an example.
Like, instead of saying, Bethany, spell check blog posts before they go out, you would say, Bethany, it's crucial that all our blog posts are error-free.
It's subtle, but I see how that changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
You're setting a standard and trusting her to figure out how to meet it,
Exactly. And that encourages your team to think critically, problem solve.
which frees you up to focus on bigger things.
And it fosters a sense of ownership and responsibility, which means better results.
Less time putting out fires and more time building the firehouse.
Exactly. Another important aspect is feedback.
Ooh, feedback. I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with giving feedback effectively. Any advice from Dan on how to get better at that?
Dan emphasizes that it's a two-way street.
Meaning?
Not just about you giving feedback to your team. It's about creating an environment where they feel comfortable sharing their ideas, concerns, even criticisms with you.
I get it. If you want honesty, you need to be open to hearing things you may not want to hear.
Exactly. He actually tells this funny story about accidentally criticizing an employee on a conference call.
Oh, no.
Not realizing they were actually on the call.
Oh, that's awkward.
It was. Taught him a big lesson about clear communication and knowing who's listening.
For sure. But beyond the humor, it really emphasizes the importance of open, honest communication.
Right. Because when that's happening, you can catch issues before they become big problems, and everyone learns and grows.
So we've covered Dan's buyback principle, the DRAP matrix, the replacement ladder, playbooks, even his leadership approach. It's clear he's all about helping entrepreneurs get their time back. But what about his personal journey? What drives him beyond just business?
Dan's a big believer in finding your passion. He tells the story about his friend, Lane Merrifield, who co-founded Club Penguin.
Club Penguin. I spent so much time on that website as a kid.
Well, Club Penguin started because Lane was passionate about making a fun and safe online space for kids, and he was so committed to that vision, he even turned down higher offers when he sold the company to Disney.
Wait, really?
Yeah, for $350 million.
Wow. Turning down a bigger payday to stay true to his vision. That's something else.
It really shows you the power of aligning your work with your passions.
So it's not just about escaping the 9-to-5. It's about finding work that gives you energy and purpose.
Exactly. And to get you there, Dan introduces this concept called 10X vision.
10X vision. Okay, that sounds ambitious. What does it mean?
It's about creating a detailed vision for your future, not just business goals, but also your team, your empire, even your lifestyle.
So it's not just, I want to be successful. It's painting a picture of what success actually looks like.
Yes, with specifics, details. He talks about breaking it down into smaller steps, and he recommends planning your year in advance with something called the preloaded year.
The preloaded year, I like that. But does that mean like scheduling every minute of every day?
Not at all. It's more about figuring out your non-negotiables, those big rocks, those priorities you have to make time for.
Like family vacations, important meetings, even just time for personal projects.
Exactly. Block those out first and build your schedule around them.
That makes sense. It frees up mental space, right?
Totally. You're not constantly squeezing things in or getting overwhelmed by your to-do list.
Speaking of freeing up mental space, what about retirement? What's Dan's take on that?
Well, the interesting thing is he doesn't believe in traditional retirement. For him, it's never stop doing what you love.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way. The idea of just stopping work altogether doesn't appeal to them.
They want to keep creating, building, contributing.
Right. So how do you create a life that's both successful and fulfilling?
Well, Dan lays out his 7 pillars of life.
7 pillars. Intriguing. What are they?
Health, hobbies, relationships, spirituality, community involvement, having a legacy project, and of course, work that you love.
So it's a holistic view of living a good life.
Exactly. It's all about balance and aligning your life with what truly matters to you. And it reminds us that buying back your time isn't just about productivity, it's about having the time and energy to invest in those things. All of them.
It sounds like Dan's really figured out how to create a life that's both successful and fulfilling.
He has. And it's not just for a select few. These ideas are for everyone.
That's great to hear. But let's be honest, not everyone's wired like Dan Martell, training for an Ironman while building an empire. Some of us need a little more structure.
Or even a little chaos, right?
Maybe.
Dan actually talks about that too, this idea of chaos addiction.
Chaos addiction. Tell me more.
It's that tendency some entrepreneurs have to subconsciously seek out stress and uncertainty.
I know a few people like that.
He identifies 5 time assassins that entrepreneurs often fall prey to.
Time assassins love it. Who are they?
The staller, the speed demon, the supervisor, the saver, and the self-medicator.
Okay, those names are spot on. I'm kind of feeling called out already. Break them down for me.
The staller overthinks everything, procrastinates on big decisions.
Got it.
The speed demon rushes into things without thinking them through.
Yeah.
The supervisor, well, they micromanage everything and everyone.
Oof, I feel seen.
The saver pinches pennies, but at the expense of time and efficiency.
And the self-medicator.
Let's just say they know how to celebrate a little too hard, leading to missed opportunities.
Yeah, okay, I see myself in a few of those, especially the supervisor. I can be a bit of a control freak with my business.
The key is to be aware of those tendencies and come up with strategies to manage them. Dan's got a lot of advice on this.
So, know yourself, conquer your time assassins.
Exactly.
This has been really eye-opening. Dan's insights are so practical and relatable, and I love how he focuses on both success and living a fulfilling life.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's not about being a workaholic or sacrificing your personal life. It's about having the time and energy to pursue your passions.
Your relationships make a difference.
Exactly.
Speaking of making a difference, there's one thing Dan mentioned that I wasn't sure about at first. He's a big advocate for hiring a house manager.
Yeah, he even shares how his house manager makes him protein shakes, keeps him stocked with his favorite gum and floss picks.
I had the same reaction. It sounded a little over the top.
But then he explained it in a way that really shifted my perspective.
Absolutely.
He said that when you don't pay someone to do something you can afford to delegate, you're essentially denying them a job and a paycheck. It's a different way of looking at it. It's not just an expense. It's creating value for someone else.
And freeing up your own time and energy to focus on your strengths.
Win-win. And at the end of the day, that's what Dan's Buy Back Your Time philosophy is all about.
Finding ways to create a life that works for you.
You're spending time on things that matter and making a positive impact.
Well, this deep dive has been amazing. The Buyback Principle, the DIP Matrix, the Time Assassins, 10X Vision, even the House Manager. So much to think about and apply in our own lives.
He really gives you a framework for designing a life that's both successful and fulfilling.
For sure. So, for everyone listening, how can you start applying these ideas to reclaim your time and create a more fulfilling life, personally and professionally?
We want to hear your thoughts.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
And remember, your time is precious. Dan calls it transformational leadership.
And it's about...
empowering your team, focusing on outcomes, not micromanaging.
Okay, so less Bethany. Spell check the blog post before they go out.
Exactly. More like
what?
More like Bethany, it's crucial that all our blog posts are error-free.
Subtle difference.
But huge.
It is, yeah. You're trusting her to figure it out, meet the standard.
And that encourages critical thinking, problem solving.
Which frees you up.
Right, to focus on the big picture.
And it builds that sense of ownership, right?
Yeah.
Responsibility.
Leading to better results.
Less time putting out fires, more time on strategy.
I like that. Building the firehouse.
Exactly. Okay, so outcomes over micromanaging. Got it.
What else?
Feedback.
Ooh, feedback. Always a tricky one. Any tips from Dan?
He says it has to go both ways.
Two-way street.
Yep. It's not just you giving feedback to your team.
Yeah.
They need to feel comfortable giving feedback to you. That makes sense. If you want them to be honest with you, you got to be open to hearing things you may not love.
He tells this funny story about criticizing an employee on a conference call.
Uh-oh.
Not realizing the employee was on the call.
Oh, no.
Yeah, big lesson in communication and being mindful of who's listening.
Definitely. But it emphasizes how important open communication is, right?
Totally. When that's happening, you can nip problems in the bud, everyone learns and grows.
Okay, so we've got the buyback principle, the DRP matrix, the replacement ladder, playbooks, leadership. It's clear Dan's passionate about helping entrepreneurs get their time back. What about his own journey, though? What drives him beyond just business?
Passion projects, actually. He's
Yeah.
a big believer in letting your passions fuel your work.
Okay, I like that.
He tells this story about his friend Lane Merrifield, who co-founded Club Penguin.
Oh, wow. Club Penguin.
Yeah, that was Lane's passion project. He wanted to create a safe and fun online space for kids. And he was so committed to that vision that when he sold the company to Disney, he actually turned down higher offers.
No way.
Yeah, for $350 million.
That's wild. Turning down more money to stay true to his vision, that's impressive.
It shows you the power of aligning your work with something you're truly passionate about.
It's not just about escaping the 9 to 5, it's about finding work that gives you energy.
Exactly. Work that you love. And to help you get there, Dan talks about 10X vision.
Okay, 10X vision. That sounds intense. What is it?
It's about creating a super clear vision for your future.
Not just like vague goals.
No. This is detailed. It includes your business, your team, your empire, your lifestyle.
Wow, okay, that's a lot. So it's not just, I want to be successful. It's painting a vivid picture of what success actually looks like.
Exactly. He's all about specifics, details, and he suggests breaking it down into smaller steps. One way to do that is by planning your year in advance, something he calls the preloaded year.
The preloaded year. I like that. But does that mean like scheduling every minute of every day?
Not at all. It's about identifying your big walks,
Big rocks.
your non-negotiables. Those priorities you absolutely have to make time for.
Family vacations, important meetings, creative time.
Yes. You block those out first, then build your schedule around them.
So you've got the structure, but also the flexibility.
Exactly. You free up mental space because you're not constantly squeezing things in or feeling overwhelmed.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of mental space, I'm curious about Dan's perspective on retirement. Does he even believe in traditional retirement?
That's the interesting thing. He doesn't. For Dan, retirement is about never stop doing what you love.
I think that resonates with a lot of entrepreneurs. The idea of just stopping work completely doesn't appeal to them.
Right. They want to keep creating, building, contributing.
So how do you create a life that's both successful and fulfilling in that sense?
Dan shares his framework, the 7 pillars of life.
7 pillars. Okay, what are they?
Health, hobbies, relationships, spirituality, community involvement, a legacy project, and work that you love.
So it's a more holistic view of a good life.
It's about balance, aligning your life with what truly matters to you. It's a reminder that buying back your time isn't just about productivity. It's about having the time and energy to invest in all of those things.
It really is. That's a powerful message.
It is.
It does, yeah. And it's inspiring too, right? Like, these ideas are for everyone.
They are, yeah. But, not everyone's wired to be like Dan, training for Ironmans while building an empire.
Right, some of us thrive on a bit more structure. Yeah.
Or maybe even a little bit of chaos.
I see, yeah.
Dan actually talks about this thing called chaos addiction.
Chaos addiction. Okay, what's that?
It's this tendency some entrepreneurs have subconsciously to seek out uncertainty and stress.
I can see that. Definitely know a few people like that.
He actually identifies 5 time assassins that entrepreneurs often fall prey to.
Time assassins. That's a great term. Okay, who are these time assassins? I got to know.
Okay, we've got the staller, the speed demon, the supervisor, the saver, and the self-medicator.
Wow, the names are pretty accurate. I'm kind of nervous to hear what they are now.
Well, the staller, they overthink everything, procrastinate on big decisions.
Okay, I know a few stallers.
The speed demon rushes into things, without thinking them through.
Yep, been there.
Then there's the supervisor, the micromanager, controls everything and everyone.
Ouch, that one hits close to home.
The saver pinches pennies, but it ends up costing them time and efficiency.
Ah, yes, the penny-wise, pound-foolish approach.
Exactly. And lastly, the self-medicator. Let's just say they celebrate a little too hard, miss opportunities.
Okay, I can see myself in a few of those, especially the supervisor. I like to be in control.
The important thing is being aware of these tendencies, right? And then finding strategies to manage them. Dan has some good advice on that.
So know thyself and conquer your time assassins.
I like that.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Dan's insights are so practical, so relatable. And I love how he emphasizes not just success, but living a fulfilling life.
Totally. It's about having the time and energy to pursue your passions, nurture your relationships, make a difference.
And speaking of making a difference, there was one thing Dan said that I was a little unsure about at first. He's really big on having a house manager.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. He talks about how his house manager makes him protein shakes, keeps his favorite gum stocked.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. It seemed a little excessive, honestly.
Right. But then he explained his reasoning, and it made me think differently about it.
How so?
He said that when we choose not to pay someone to do something we can afford to delegate, we're denying them a job.
Interesting.
It's not just about the expense, it's about creating value for someone else while freeing up your own time to focus on what you're good at.
It's a different way of looking at it, for sure.
It is. And that's what Dan's whole buy back your time philosophy is about.
Right.
Creating a life that works for you, spending your time on things that matter, and making a positive impact along the way.
This deep dive has been amazing. Yeah, Buyback Principle, the DRIP Matrix, the Time Assassins, 10X Vision, the Preloaded Year, even the House Manager. So much to think about and apply.
He really gives you the tools to create a life that's both successful and fulfilling, doesn't he?
He does. So for everyone listening, how are you going to use these ideas to buy back your time and create a more fulfilling life? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And until next time, keep diving deep.
And remember, your time is precious.